This is the Page Publishing Book Club. How you doing? I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. Rob Barrett is my engineer, and you know what? Sometimes when you have a nagging question in the back of your head, the best thing to do is try to answer it. You never know what could happen. Jennifer Gilliland had lots of questions about the Bible. Is creation purely spiritual, purely scientific, or both? She did the research and came up with some surprising findings in her book entitled Truth. Jennifer.
Okay. Well, it's kind of the where the two meet on the pavement, I guess, religion and science both. Because Monday through Friday, we're told something a lot of times different than what we hear on Sunday mornings at church. And I feel like some of those things that we're told, make the difference between somebody growing up as an adult in faith or walking away from faith. And some of that stuff, I think, goes together a lot better than what we're told either at school or in Sunday class. And as somebody that loves science, that kind of started the quest for, there has to be common ground, because if science is the study of everything around us and faith is about who created everything around us, then, by default, they have to go together.
Okay, I get that. I mean, why can't faith be science-based?
Right. Why is there always a line drawn in the sand saying, if this, then there can't be a God, or,
right.
Or vice versa? The both camps do it. And I think it's a dangerous position to have. So, for example, we can look at the universe, or something as small as our genes. It's a genetic code, or these letters have to go perfectly together, like a key fitting in a keyhole. And it tells us everything from the color of our hair to the personalities we have. And it's not something unique to humans. Dogs have it. Blades of grass have it. Every living thing has this code. And it's 3.2 billion letters long that has to fit together perfectly like puzzle pieces. And the idea that this just happened by accident or is random, I don't think it is a good position to have. To say that something that long and that intricate came from randomness or luck is a foolish thing to say, in my view, because that first generation of single-celled organisms, or whatever it was that first reproduced, had to be able to read this code, pass this code along to future generations, whether it was through asexual reproduction or sexual reproduction. Either way, it's something that both organisms have.
Okay, you talk about evolution.
I'm talking about evolution, right? When I started this project, I'll say I didn't believe in evolution, and then when I got done, my position is, it very well could have happened, and but it doesn't change the storyline as far as whether or not there's a creator or not. Just because whether God, patty caked dirt together and breathed life into the nostrils of Adam, or if he watched his creation over millennia, it's of no difference as far as a statistical proof or possibilities of it happening. Both of them are outside the realms of randomness. So.
Okay, so are you a scientist?
I'm not. I love science, but I'm not a scientist, and I'm not a theologian either. I'm somebody who appreciates science and who does believe there's a God, and felt like we weren't getting the whole story. Why do I have to pick one camp versus the other?
So how do you feel now?
Well, I still love science, and I still believe there's a God. Through all this research and stuff, I've found that they go quite nicely together. So, I mean, the very beginnings of what we read in Genesis fit quite, very nicely with what the top scientists of today say happened in the Big Bang, and all of this coming out of nothingness. So they coincide very nicely, actually.
Why do we try to draw a line when it would make perfect sense for God to have a scientific basis for what he did?
Absolutely. And when you can assign a mathematical equation to literally everything, that shows order. And order doesn't come from an explosion of light. Explosions create entropy, not order. And when everything has a code or mathematical equation that can be assigned to it, I think that you have to kind of step away from from randomness at that point.
Well, you know what? It's all very interesting and thought-provoking, to say the least. Good work, Jennifer. Thanks. Wes Berry started writing screenplays about 30 years ago and got this close with one of them. He actually landed a deal, which I tell you is an accomplishment in itself. Chuck Norris was interested, a producer signed on, but it fell through. So about 6 years ago, he decided to start turning his screenplays into books, and now his first one is published. It's called A.J. Adam and Adeline. Welcome, Wes. What's the story?
Well, it's about a young boy in Tennessee in 1931, and he is from the wrong side of the tracks, you might say. Has a father who was a gypsy, and they have traveled up and down the Appalachia area with carnivals, and his father does not respect him or care for him. His mother died at birth when he was being born. So he's had a rough time of it. At the same time, he is working on a beautiful Tennessee horse ranch, or horse farm, I should say. And there is a young girl there, a 15-year-old, that he is smitten with. But at the same time, he realizes he has no chance to approach her. He just takes care of her horse and other things at the farm. As time goes on, though, he breaks away from there. Actually, the trouble with his father continues to get worse, and his father is in prison, and he burns down the squatter's shack they live in and heads for the oil fields of Oklahoma. And that's where his life slowly begins to change. The story takes place over a period of 12 years.
Wow.
And his life is changing, and Adeline's life is changing as well. So he is slowly becoming a man of success, and at the same time, things have gone wrong on this beautiful horse farm, and the girl ends up pretty much losing everything. As time goes on, though, he comes back a wealthy man and basically rescues her.
How many screenplays do you have stockpiled that you're going to turn into novels?
Well, I have 13 screenplays that I completed, several others that were partially done. And I don't know how many of those I would turn into novels, but I'll tell you, I love writing novels, and this is, I have found my niche. This is what I was born to do. There's no doubt about it.
Isn't that a great feeling?
It is. It's a wonderful feeling to find your dharma. Yes.
Yeah, sooner or later.
I grew up in very poor farm country of Ohio. My father was a failed minister, but as I say, he was a damn good wino. And when I was in 8th grade on a heavily frozen December night, he burned down our house.
Oh, my God.
We lost everything but the clothes on our backs, and it was arson. He did this while no one else was home to make it look like a wiring problem, and collected insurance money of $700. That's what we were worth. We were worth $700.
Oh, man.
And then what he did with that money was he gambled and drank it away, every penny of it. And I was always fearful of what he might do to our mother when I was in school, since he was insane. He truly was insane. He spent 4 years in the Ohio State Insane Asylum. That's what we called it.
It sounds like you should write about your family.
Well, I could. In a way, my stories do kind of, in a certain way, I do find bits and pieces in my characters that do come from that. Yes.
So in spite of your nutty father, you managed to be successful.
It took years for that to happen, but I did, yes. I had a very rough few years as I was overcoming all of that, but I did. It made me a better storyteller, you know.
Sure. Yeah,
It
because
really did,
you have
yes.
all that emotional stuff to pull on.
Exactly. Yes.
Great story, Wes, both the one you wrote and your real life story. All right, Benny and the Jet Meet La Luna is the name of a children's book by Erica Pullen Costilla, which she named after her children, ages 6 and 3. And the obvious question is, you're a pretty big Elton John fan or what?
You know, I've always been a really big fan, and surprisingly, I mean, it kind of worked out. in that way.
So you don't deny it.
No, I don't deny it. I love Ellen.
Okay. So this is a children's book.
Yes, it is. I wanted to encourage a little bit of curiosity. And in the story, Jet, who's the youngest, he has that curiosity about what is that? What's the moon? What's it all about? And they go on this nighttime adventure and they learn about some nocturnal creatures, like a bat. So they learn that bats hear through sound waves. They learn that, owls only go out at night and hunt. And that raccoons can actually walk on their back legs.
Like a bear.
Yeah.
So
This moonlight figure, which is a little girl named Luna, comes down and kind of takes them on this adventure where they learn about these animals.
So you're a single mom.
Yeah.
You work. You go to
Mhm.
school. Good for you. And you want to be a writer.
Yes. I never really thought of it as, jumping into a career. It was actually kind of something fun that I did for my kids. We love to read here at the house. And I wanted them to kind of have something of their own. And I went out to the art store. I bought a blank book and, I did some sketches and wrote this story. And my oldest just fell in love with it. And it was actually his idea to kind of go out and look for a publication company. Because he wanted to share it with everyone.
So he found Page Publishing. You see, Page is so easy to find. A 6-year-old can do it.
Yeah, we were online, and he was helping me go through on the computer, and he said that one. And I think it was because his favorite color is his red, and it stood out to him. And he was like, that one. And I said, okay, you know what? I'll give him a call.
There you go. Did you read it to people? Did you have people look at it?
Yeah, I did. I kept it strictly, kind of within like the family, just because I didn't want, my friends' kids to be like, oh yeah, that was okay. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'll let my family do it. I know their constructive criticism. If it's good, if it's bad, they'll tell me. They'll be honest.
Right.
As of right now, I've been working really closely with our local Barnes & Noble. So I've been going there and doing some meet and greets. I've been doing readings there, been kind of posting online. I'm actually in the middle of kind of making a website for it as well.
All right, Erica. Well, you're doing all the right stuff. Best of luck to you. Okay, we got to take a quick break, but we are coming right back. This is the Page Publishing Book Club. Don't you go anywhere.
Have you written a book and want to get it published? Then now's the time to call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099 and do it immediately. You see, they're looking for authors of all types of books. And unlike most publishers, Page Publishing will take the time to review most of the books submitted to them. And they'll even give you their feedback. And if they like what they read, Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, the Apple iTunes Store, and other outlets. They'll handle everything: copyright protection, printing, cover art, publicity, and editing. So if you've written a novel, a children's book, a cookbook, inspirational work, a book of poetry, or biography, and want to get it published, then you need to call Page Publishing and do it immediately. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. Your road to fame and fortune could very well start with this simple phone call. For your free author submission kit, call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099.
We're back on the Page Publishing Book Club. I'm your host, Alice Stockton Rossini. Ace Remus has published a couple of books with Page. He worked in direct marketing for many years, but writing, that was always his creative outlet. And now he's turning these books out like it's his job. His latest, entitled Going for Broke in Silverland. Ace.
Well, I grew up in Nevada, and it's a semi-autobiographical novel about 1968 when the Tet Offensive in Vietnam happened, and I was drafted into the military, but was stranded in the United States. I was in the Air Force and in Nevada, and during the 6 months or so I was on active duty in Nevada, I ended up writing for the Territorial Enterprise, which is the Virginia City newspaper that Mark Twain found his voice in. That's where he invented himself. So it's a story about a young man who sort of imagines himself as a young Mark Twain trying to make it. And Mark Twain was famous for his tall tales, and his reporting was mostly entertainment. And the main character in the story tries to do the same successfully in the story. But its theme is just the tenuous line between fact and fiction in our lives, what we dream about our lives and what actually happens in our lives. And so the last line of the book is the main character is happy the way he invented his life, which is what we all do. So,
Well, we still have to live the real life.
well, what's real is, in my view, is always a question. Because, what is real for you is not real for me, because we see the world differently. But a lot of that's influenced because I actually was very active in Buddhism for a long time and was a Buddhist teacher for about 20 years. Taught meditation classes in Northern California and Nevada. And a lot of Buddhist philosophy is about the nature of reality. So the theme is influenced by that as well.
Okay.
Maybe.
When I'm reading about your book here, there was a lot of gambling, a reckless father, college was a drag. You end up at this newspaper, or your character ends up at this newspaper, and he meets a beautiful woman. So
First sentence of the novel is, "Don't call me Allan, Allan. My name is All In." And
Okay.
all in is the theme. He sort of goes all in whatever he does.
Okay.
And the reason he was named All In is because his father, on a troop ship before Pearl Harbor, had won a fantastic amount of money in a poker game on the troop ship. And the celebration that followed was the conception of All In. His father named him that. And then his reckless father, is addicted to gambling throughout the story.
Okay. So this is his story and how he deals with all of that.
Yeah. Actually, I think it's a really good book. I mean, you learn how to write when you write things.
Right.
Going for Broke in Silverland is my 5th book, and I've written 2 more. So I've written a total of 7 books. And 2 of them were more like memoirs,
Okay.
and the rest are novels.
Do you talk about your books?
Yeah, I've had some local signings at the local big bookstore here in town. I live in Northern California.
So how's that work out?
It works good. In fact, the last time I was there, 65 people came to my book signing.
65 people you didn't even know.
Right. And they had two book signings. They put me in the back room because I was lesser known. They had some famous author in the front. I can't remember who it was, but he only had 10 people.
So that's great.
No, the bookstore likes me because I sell books when I go there. Yeah. I live in Marin County, California, which is, a lot of people are interested in literary things here. Everybody wants to be a writer.
Well, there's people who want to be writers everywhere, right? Or else we wouldn't have the Page Publishing Book Club. Love the fact that that you were able to attract people who didn't even know you to your book signing. That gives us all some encouragement. All right, our next author, Howard Gershader, wrote a book called The Tunnel Tree back in 1969, and he's finally finished it. A very pivotal time in our history, wouldn't you say, Howard?
So it was written right at the time of the Vietnam specter hanging over the nation, Alice, and traveling across the nation and experiencing what was going on. I was in love with 2 women. It's provocative, highly sexual, and it's exciting. I mean, every time I read it, I still get excited.
All right, well, you use the giant sequoia tree in Yosemite as a symbol
Yes.
of all life, according to what I'm reading about your book.
Correct. The underlying power of the story to me is how precious life is, Alice. And I try to use the giant tree, the oldest living thing on the earth, as a symbol of all life and us passing through it, woven the story around that tree.
This is your story.
I am the main character. I was in love with this woman, and she dumped me. And the story is really about her. She's a big character, and she dumped me, and I was going to get the story published. I had Random House was going to publish it. I was so jolted by her dumping me, Alice, that I never finished. And I just left the book for 47 years,
Oh.
and finally getting it published. It's very bawdy. And I think America is ready for it. It wasn't ready, really. I don't even know if they're ready now. It's not politically correct at all,
Okay.
but, I wanted to get it out there. And it's exciting, and it's real. I mean, it really happened, Alice. That's the way it really happened, and that's the way people were involved with each other back in the 60s. It was a whole different society, and I'm trying to show you how people lived back then and how they interacted in all ways.
What did you end up doing as a career in your life?
I had probably 30 jobs, 30 careers in my life. The ending career was I ran for the governor of California. I ran for state senator there in Vermont. I sold peanuts. I worked on ferries. I picked apples. I was a masseur. I mean, many, many careers. And I just was one of those guys that just kept moving around, you know. I was never satisfied or content until I got married and I had a family. That was later on. I had 3 children. But I had a lot of jobs.
And are you retired now?
Yes, I am. I'm 74 years old, Alice.
There you go. So now you've got time to get this book out there.
Right. The other one that's coming out is about our first child was killed in a car accident in 2003, and the story is about it's a case for existence after death, is what it is. You know how and I'm not. You know, you might think I'm nuts, but he contacted me so strongly that I had to write that book, and it's called Forever Sunshine. It'll be out in the spring.
So you're writing all the time now.
Yes, I've sent out 50 copies to people that I thought were key personnel in this country. I sent one to Bernie Sanders, sent one to Oprah Winfrey, sent one to Jack Nicholson, sent one to the governor of Vermont, the president of my college, all the newspapers. So I sent copies to the people who are going to review the books. I think I've done the old-fashioned thing, Alice, you know?
All right, Howard. Finally. May Sullivan always wanted to write, but was never inspired to actually sit down and do it until a character popped into her head about 4 years ago. It led her to write Carla's Dream. So tell me about this character.
One day I was laying down. I was actually trying to take a nap. I was really tired. And this character popped into my head and started telling me her story. And I thought, well, I got to write this down. And then from then it was just more and more characters popping in, and that's kind of how it began.
Like stopping by to see you, like
Yeah.
popping in.
Yeah.
Just when you're trying to get to sleep.
Right.
So this is your creative outlet, writing.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right.
Carla, it's all fictional. She's just the character that popped into my head. I do kind of portray myself in some aspects through my characters, little bits and pieces of me. But she basically was having a tough time, recently separated from her husband and having to take care of kids on low income, and things just kind of started to happen for her. So the company that she was working for was being sold to a man who she was attracted to. He kind of felt intrigued by her not having any background in her career, kind of starting late in life, I guess.
Uh-huh.
After being a stay-at-home mom and everything. And he helped her out, and they fell in love. And there's other characters in there, too, that kind of help bring the story together. Her best friends, Heidi and Jed, they actually are going to have their own books as well. This is the first of the trilogy. So
We don't find out in this book if she lives happily ever after.
you do in this book. There's more. The next book is going to be Heidi's dream, and then the next one is Jed's dream. So the message is not to give up, just to keep going. It may be hard now, but everything works out in the end.
Okay. Does this follow your life at all?
Somewhat. I had some tough times, and things have really been working out for me.
Okay.
Found the love of my life, started writing, dreams of mine.
Okay, so
We have a library here locally in town that I'm wanting to talk to, and, in Austin and in places around, to maybe do some book signings and get it out there a little more.
okay, and you're going to keep writing now.
Yes,
You got the bug.
I'm on the road.
All right.
Yes.
All right, good enough, May. Thank you so much. And thanks to all of our authors for sharing with us on this edition of the Page Publishing Book Club. We're already working on the next one as we wind down toward the end of 2017. I can't believe it, Rob. Jeez, where'd this year go? I can't believe we just have one more month. So are you going to let another year go by without making the attempt to write that book you've been wanting to write for how long? Are you? No pressure. I'm just saying. We will be back next week with a whole new set of authors. And don't forget, you can download our shows anytime you want at 710WOR.iHeart.com. Listen to them whenever you want. In the meantime, we're out of here. You have a great week. I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. See you next time.